Welcome to the Vue Stock Chart tutorial. The Syncfusion Vue Stock Chart component is used to visualize how the stock price of a company changes over time. Look at this example. A candlestick chart is used to analyze stock price differences, and a vertical crosshair line displays values at the bottom for easy comparison. You can choose specific time ranges to visualize using a range selector and select different periods using a period selector. In this video, I'll show you how to easily add the stock chart component to your Vue app. You'll explore cool features like crosshairs and tooltips, and learn how to hide the range selector and customize the period selector. I will start the Vue application creation process using the Vue v command. Make sure you have installed the latest versions of Vue and Node.js. I'll use Visual Studio Code as my editor and show the output in the Chrome browser. To create a project in Vue, open Visual Studio Code and type the npm create v-latest command. I name the app my Vue app. Next, choose Vue as the framework and JavaScript as the variant. A Vue project is created. I navigate to the newly created Vue app and install the required dependencies using the npm install command. Now the application is configured with the default settings of a Vue project. To use the stock chart component, I type the command npm install at Syncfusion /ej2 Vue charts -- save to install the package and its dependencies. Next, I must register the trial license key to use Syncfusion components. I open the main.js file and import the register license method from the Syncfusion ej2 base package. Using this method, I register the trial license key. For instructions on how to generate a trial key, refer to the link in this video's description. To add the stock chart component, I open the app Vue file and remove the default code. Then I import the stock chart component from the Syncfusion Vue Charts package. Next, I need to define the CSS. Here, I'm going to reference the CDN link, so let me open the index.html file and reference the CDN link inside the head section, which includes the combined CSS references of all the essential JS2 components. In the app Vue file, I add the JS stock chart tag inside the template section. Then I add the height and width properties with appropriate values. Now let's see how to display the chart with a single candle series. To add a candle series, I import the candle series module from the Syncfusion Vue Charts package and inject it into the provide function. To use this function, I need to import it from Vue. Then I add the series collection to the stock chart by adding the eStock Chart Series Collection tag, which contains n number of eStock Chart series definitions. Here, I plan to add a single candle series chart, so inside this, let me add a single eStock Chart series tag. To use these tags, I need to import the stock chart series collection and stock chart series directives from the Syncfusion Vue Charts package. I set the chart series type as candle to render the candle series chart type. The other supported series types are line, spline, high-low, open close, and hollow candle. Here I will show Apple's stock price in the stock chart with a candle series. So let me add a new file called data.js and define an array of objects, chart data, with fields like X, open, high, low, close, and volume. I import this chart data from the data file here and assign it to the data source property. Next, to map the fields to the chart series, I assign this date field from the chart data to the x-axis using the xName property. Since the data source field names are the same as the property names in the field settings, it is not necessary to map them. In the case of different field names, they should be explicitly mapped. As you can see, I have used the date value here. So I import the datetime module along with several modules for the stock chart component from the Syncfusion Vue Charts package and inject them into the Provide section. I save the changes and then run the application by using the npm run dev command. See the stock chart rendered. In this candle series, you'll notice that some rectangles are filled while others are not, depending on the relationship between the open and close prices. In the toolbar, you have the option to change the indicators and the option to select any period. Now let me demonstrate how to set a title for the chart. I set the title property to Stock Price Analysis. You can now see the chart title, Stock Price Analysis. Next, I'll show you how to enable crosshairs to display the axis values in the chart. First, I need to import the crosshair module from the J2 Vue Charts package and inject it into the Provide section. I define the crosshair object and set the enable property to true. By default, it only shows a vertical line. To show vertical and horizontal lines, I set the line type property to both. I assign this object to the crosshair property of the stock chart component. Look at the candle series chart showing vertical and horizontal crosshair lines, indicating the data points, x-axis and y-axis values. Also, I can enable crosshair tooltips to show x-axis values. To do that, first I defined a primary x-axis object add the crosshair tooltip property and set the enable property to true. I assign this object to the primary x-axis property See, the crosshair tooltip is displayed for the x-axis. To show more information about data points, I need to enable tooltips by setting up the tooltip property. I import the tooltip module from the J2 Vue Charts package and then insert it into the Provide section. I define the tooltip object and set the enable property to true. I assign this object to the tooltip property. Now you can see a tooltip displaying additional information for every data point. By default, the range selector is enabled in the stock chart to let users visualize a selection of data points from an extensive collection of data. If you want to hide this range selector, define the enable selector variable as false. And assign this variable to the enable selector property. See the chart now. The range selector is not displayed. By default, period selector options are available for users to select and view data points of a particular period from the data collection. There are options to choose a particular month range, a year, or all the data. In addition to these options, you can also specify custom intervals for these period selectors. To add custom period selectors, I define an array of object periods and set the selected property to true. The Syncfusion Vue Stock Chart comes with 9 range interval types, such as auto, years, months, hours, days, etc. From these, I choose hours. So I set the interval type to hours. Then I set the interval to 12 to specify the interval count. Also, I set the text property to 12 hours to add it as display text. I assign this object to the periods property. You can see the range set to 12 hours. To disable or hide these period selector options, define the enable period selector variable as false. And assign this to the enable period selector property. See the chart now. The period selector is not displayed. Let's wrap up this video. We saw how to easily add the Syncfusion Vue Stock Chart component to a Vue application and explored a few cool features like crosshair lines and tooltips. Additionally, we learned how to hide the range selector and customize the period selector. If you want to try out the example used in this video, you can download it from the GitHub link in this video's description. I have also shared a link where you can learn about obtaining a free license key to use our Vue components through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel.